So hello everyone, I'm Pranav Savla and I'm a student of Vision Aid. And so I'm back again with you all for the fourth uh, tutorial of this Mac series. And so we learned how to use voiceover in the first three videos, and those videos will be very useful for people who are blind like me or visually impaired, and people who are sighted who don't want to use a mouse and want to use a keyboard. And so people who have a Mac, for those people, those would come in handy to learn voiceover. But then what about people who don't have a Mac, like me? So for the past three tutorials, I was actually I don't have a physical Mac. And so today I'm going to show you, there's a method. I'm going to show you how to install a macOS virtual machine on your Windows computer or your Linux computer. And so this will help you if you cannot probably afford a Mac and you still want to learn voiceover. You want to see how macOS feels. And so that way, this is going to be a very useful tool, and it's completely accessible as well. So if you have a good spec Windows computer or a good Linux laptop or desktop, this is gonna work just fine. So I'm doing this because, firstly, I myself don't have a physical Mac, and many people sighted and visually impaired may want to, as I said, test out macOS, but don't want to buy a Mac. So this is the best way and the safest way to be testing out macOS with all its features, be it App Store, be it FaceTime, iMessage, VoiceOver, which is the screen reader that I've been talking about in the past three tutorials. So I'm doing this on Windows, and this can be followed by a sighted user and a blind user. And to make that possible, I'm using a screen reader on Windows called NVDA. So if I just press my arrow keys, that noise is actually not a defect, but that is my NVDA screen reader on Windows. So what is NVDA? Just a quick summary. NVDA is a screen reader developed by NV Access. NVDA stands for Non-Visual Desktop Access, and it runs on Windows computers and touch devices. And it's been around for almost 14 years, and it's a very capable screen reader. So just like we have VoiceOver on the Mac, NVDA is a screen reader for Windows. It's a free screen reader. So before we get started, let me explain a little about virtual machines, and especially about a macOS virtual machine. So virtual machines are a way for you to run an operating system inside your current operating system. So be it, if I want to, this will not only apply for macOS, but this will apply for any operating system like Windows, Linux, Unix, Unix distros, or some DOS operating system, or anything like that. And so what happens in virtual machines is you use a tool. In this case, we're using something called VMWare Player. And so what happens there is that the virtual machine runs inside that VMware Player, and both your host or your main operating system, in our case Windows, and your virtual machine, which will, if in our case Mac OS, will be sharing the current resources of your computer. So take an example of my computer. I have 8 GB RAM, so I can probably allocate 4 GB RAM to my virtual machine and 4 GB RAM to my physical machine. And it'll share my processor CPU cores as well. So this is how a virtual machine now works. Now, just before we get started, a few things to note. You need a good laptop, in the sense that it needs to have at least 8 GB of RAM to run the macOS virtual machine. It needs to have at least an Intel i3 or a good AMD processor. I'm not sure now exactly what the AMD processor names are, but it needs to be a capable processor. A quad core or octa-core processor will work. To check how many cores your processor has, you can just Google your processor in your computer model and you should get the answer. And your computer needs to have a good sound card. So mine has a Dolby sound card. And if you're sighted, it needs to have a good display adapter. And you can check all these by going into Device Manager on your Windows machine. So these are the things you need to note. Also, you need to go and check in your BIOS. That's by switching on your computer, and depending on your computer, you need to press your BIOS key and check if you have an Intel processor. You need to check if Intel VTX is enabled, and you can check that under BIOS configuration. And if you have an AMD processor, it will be AMD SVM, Security Virtual Machine. So you need to check these are enabled, and if they're not, you can enable it. Now, I won't be showing the BIOS as one, it requires my computer to be shut down, and second, there's no screen reader that works with BIOS. Okay, so let's get started. What do you need for this? You need VMware Player, which is the most accessible virtual machine tool out there, and I will link it in the description. So all the links for the resources for this video will be in the description box. You need the macOS virtual machine disk, which I will also link in the description. And finally, you need the unlocker tool. Okay, so VMware doesn't by default come with the unlocker, the macOS option for a virtual machine. It only comes with Windows, Linux, and other. So you need to install the unlocker tool. And to do that, there'll be a link in the description that will lead to a Mediafire website. You can see it's currently open for me.
Out of edit link media file. Edit mode. About compressed archive formats heading level 6.
That'll be the first heading. So if you just press up arrow a few times.
List with 2 items uploaded. 20. File size 15.06. Out of list compressed archive. Zip. MK unlocker zip. Link and add 3 downloads and 1 T. Clickable link download file.
So you click on download file. I'm not going to do it because I already have it downloaded. Okay. And so this is the mkunlocker.zip. And so this was made by the folks over at MIT to be able to use macOS and VMware. So I'm going to close this window.
macOS modified APFS site. Folder view list. Links TXT 93 of 93. CS50 mobile. Normal. SR. React Native X. Add by 87 of 93. MK unlocker zip 92 of 93.
You get this. mkunlocker.zip. And you just have to extract that. Now again, I have it extracted. And once you extract it,
MK unlocker 3 of 93.
MK unlocker. Okay, so you hit enter on this.
MK unlocker window preview level 0 quick access collapse 1 of 2 items view list Darwin MD not selected 1 of 19 space
and you
selected.
Got around 19 files. You can read the README and everything. So and plus the source code comes with this distro. So if you want to go and modify that, you can do as well. So to run this, it's a very simple process. Just go and I'm going to press W.
Win build CMD 15 of 19. Win install CMD 16 of 19.
Win install.cmd. Now don't run it directly. You need to go and right click on it. And if you're sighted, you can just right click. And if you're visually impaired, you either press the applications or the F10 key. Shift F10, pardon me.
Context menu.
We'll open the context menu.
Open O. Edit E. Print P. Run as administrator.
You need to run as administrator.
Window dialog. Pane. Windows Defender. Out of starting. Running. Link more info.
This Windows Defender.
Out of column. Row to column. Out of table. Out of grouping button. Run anyway.
Smart screen. I'm just going to hit run anyway.
Taskbar. Secure desktop. User
account control.
Yes, but
yes. I want to allow this to make changes to my computer. This is standard when you install a software, just like that.
Taskbar. C. Windows System 32 CMDX Terminal blank. Unlocker 3.0.2 for VMware Workstation. C. Dave Parsons 20.
So it's going to open this DOS box, and you don't need to listen to.
Link didn't work. Trying another one. Trying for the 12th time. Retrieving Darwin tools from.
You don't need to listen to all this.
Blank. Link didn't work. Blank.
And you can just hit control to. It's going to do its thing.
Link didn't work. Trying another.
And just let it try.
Link didn't work. Retrieving Darwin tools from HTTP. C. Blank.
And so this is just working on installing the unlocker, and that should, and it'll just close automatically, so you don't need to worry about all that. So let's close our
system alt close
MK unlocker.
Start window V.
And let's go to
Workstation.
VMware Workstation 15 player.
VMware Workstation 15 player, non-commercial use only, list home 1 to 1.
And now just to show you, now so to create a new virtual machine, you just press Control N. So I'm just going to do that.
New virtual machine wizard. Installer disk image.
I will install the operating system later.
Dialog. Guest operate. Linux radio. Apple Mac OS X radio button.
We now have Apple Mac OS X in our options. So we've got
Linux, Microsoft
Windows,
Linux radio button. Check alt. Apple Mac OS X radio button. Other
Apple
radio
Mac
button.
OS X and others. So now we can install Apple Mac OS X.
VMware Workstation 15 player, non-commercial use only, list.
So I'm going to close VMware. And a quick side note, you need to have VMware closed when you're running the unlocker. So
macOS Mojave APFS.
there's still one file that we need to install. That is the macOS Mojave installer disk. So this is best. You can even try this with High Sierra as well. But the best is Mojave, because even after that, you can update your installation. So the macOS Mojave virtual machine disk is available on this website here.
HTTP
That's a Mediafire link. Again, I will provide that. And it's a big file. It's around 6.7 GB. You'll get a RAR extraction. I'm not going to download it here. It's the same process as the unlocker. And you'll get a RAR, and you just extract it normally like a RAR. And then what you get is, let me show this to you. I've saved it in my documents. And let me go to this PC.
This PC with D.
And if I go through my document,
level 2 document, macOS Mojave APFS IG per VMDK 4860.
You get this VMDK file that is
size at 21,923,200 KB read only.
It's that big.
System alt
so
space.
It's around,
Close
I guess,
macOS
7 to 8 GB. Okay. So with that said, now we'll close this tab.
System menu. Close.
Okay. And again, the links will be provided. Also, there'll be an instruction website that you can refer to for any doubts.
VMware Workstation 15 player.
So now let's open up VMware Workstation 15 player. And
VMware Workstation restore unavailable.
Maximize this window. So let's create our virtual machine now. So so currently, the first thing you get is your list of machines, and we don't have anything. So there's only one thing, that is
welcome to list home 1 to 1.
Home. So you get your home options there, and you can tab through them. But all we're going to do is hit Control N.
New virtual machine wizard dialog. Dialog install from. Insert the installer disk into this drive to continue. Insert the installer disk into this drive to continue. Installer disk radio button checked.
You can do now it's going to ask you, where do you want to install your operating system from? So usually in the case of virtual machines, you use ISO files or CDs. But in this case, we're not going to do any of that. So we're going to do
installer disk image file ISO. I will install the operating system later. Radio button.
I will install the operating system later.
Help button. Next button.
And we'll tab to the next button.
Help button. Dialog. Guest operating system grouping. Microsoft Windows radio button. Check Alt W.
And we want, now these are radio buttons. So again, you can press the up and down arrows.
Linux radio button. Check Alt L.
Arrow.
Apple Mac OS X radio button. Check Alt M.
We want Apple Mac OS X.
Version grouping. Version combo box Mac OS 10.12 collapsed Alt V.
We don't want 10.12.
Mac OS 10.14.
We want Mac OS 10.14.
Help button. Back button. Next button. Alt N.
So we'll hit next.
Button. Dialog. Virtual machine name. Edit Alt V selected. Mac OS 10.14.
So now you need to type in our virtual machine name.
Blank. Selection removed.
Remove that. That's the default. I'm gonna type Pranav's. Now this is not read out for some reason. Pranav's Mac OS virtual machine.
Location. Edit Alt L selected C. User Savla OneDrive documents virtual machines. Pranav's Mac OS virtual machine.
Now you could choose your location. I'll just leave it in documents because there's my virtual machine disk as well, and I want that to be there. And
browse. Back button. Alt D.
Browse.
Next button. Alt N.
Next.
Unavailable text. Property page. The virtual machine's hard disk is stored as one or more files on the host computer's physical disk. These files start small and become larger as you add applications, files, and data to your virtual machine. Splitting the disk makes it easier to move the virtual machine to another computer, but may reduce performance with very large disks. Maximum disk size. GB. Edit Alt S selected 40.0.
So now we need to select the maximum disk size because this uses our computer's resources. So we need to select how much storage can it use. Let me go
40,
crank this up to
69.0, 70.0,
70 GB.
split virtual disk into multiple files, radio button checked,
Now
Alt M.
that doesn't improve performance. You have to press the down arrow once.
Store virtual disk as a single file, radio button
Store
checked, Alt O.
virtual disk as a single file.
Help button, back button, next button, Alt M.
Next,
Button, dialog. The virtual machine will be created with the following settings. List.
you could go through the settings.
Customize hardware. Back button, finish
And
button.
let's just do finish.
Unavailable text. VMware Workstation 15
So
player.
it's gonna
Non-commercial
load a
use.
little.
Pranav's macOS virtual machine 2 of 2.
Pranav's macOS virtual machine.
Edit multi-line selected. Pranav's macOS
You
virtual
could
machine.
rename it.
Play virtual machine.
You could do play virtual machine because that's required for powering it on.
Edit virtual machine settings.
But we're not done yet. We're gonna do edit virtual machine settings. And I wanna crank this up a little.
Virtual machine settings dialog. Proper processor. Memory summary 2 GB 1 of 8.
The RAM, I want to first increase the RAM because it's only 2 GB.
Property page maximum
And
recommend blank selection.
This will depend on how much RAM you give this depends on how much you actually have on your computer. So if you have 8 GB, I recommend giving it around 4 GB of RAM. If you are only using 1 or 2 programs that are open. So I'm gonna give this 4 GB, which you have to type in bytes. So 4096.
MD slider 72. Add button. OK button.
And I'm going to actually press on
Pressed.
OK because this
VMware
has a little
play virtual machine. Edit virtual machines
so we're gonna
unavailable.
go back into edit virtual machine settings.
Virtual processor. Hard processors summary 2 of 8.
Processors. Now mine is an octa-core processor, so 8 cores.
Processors
And
grouping.
I'm gonna crank this up to
List processors summary 3 2 of 8. Processors grouping 4.
4 cores.
List processors summary 4 2 of 8.
So it's a 4-core processors.
Hard disk SATA summary 70 GB 3
Now
of 8.
here's where you have to modify things.
Property page disk util expand button alt E. Defragment button alt E. Expand.
You have to go to hard disk SATA.
Compact but advanced. Add but
You
remove
have to
button alt
click
R.
on remove.
Pressed. Device stat connect comma advanced add remove button alt add
Then you
button
click
alt
on add. Okay.
add hardware wizard dialog. CD DVD hard disk 1 of 10.
Choose hard disk.
Property page recommended virtual disk type grouping SATA radio button check alt.
SATA.
Property page A use an existing virtual disk radio.
You do use an existing
Back button alt next button alt N.
virtual disk.
Unavailable existing disk file grouping edit alt
Now you
blank.
browse for the
Browse
file. So I'm
button
just
alt R.
gonna tap to the browse button and let's
Browse for exit file up and toolbar up to this address downloads toolbar search address up and cancel button.
I'm gonna go
Address downloads
to
toolbar up and toolbar
documents. So
toolbar up.
wherever you stored that VMDK
Address
file,
this command 3 items view list
now
folders
you need
grouping
it.
desktop documents row
Documents.
items management to record macOS Mao final APFSIG
There you go.
status edit sync pending read only row 10 stat macOS Mao final APFSIG per VMDK 10 of 10.
I'm gonna hit
Add
enter on
hardware wizard
that.
dialog back button alt finish button.
Finish.
VMware Workstation 15 player dialog convert existing virtual disk to newer format. The chosen virtual disk can be converted to the newest format supported by this Workstation 15X virtual machine. However, after conversion, the virtual disk will be unusable with older virtual machines. Keep existing format button alt K.
Okay.
Convert button alt O.
Keep existing format. Convert.
Keep existing.
You can do any. I'm just gonna go with
Convert button alt.
keep existing format.
Virtual machine settings dialog. Property page. Remove button. OK button. Cancel. OK
We're
button.
done here.
Pressed.
So
VMware
I'm
Workstation.
gonna hit OK.
Play virtual.
And now you need to play virtual
Dash.
machine settings. Okay.
Unavailable pane.
And this will load. And this will bring up
Pranav's macOS.
Pranav's macOS.
Restore R.
I'll
Pranav's macOS.
maximize this. Now you can check what's happening with OCR. So NVDA R will bring you to
Recognizing.
CR.
Result document. Mute. Player. Mute. Start participants. New share.
So this thing is also coming.
Pranav's macOS.
Let me actually.
Meeting control space.
Oops.
Mute. Stop share button. Mute. Stop share button. Mute.
Okay.
Current. Pranav's
Anyway, so here our Mac is actually booting up, and so you will see the Apple logo on the screen, and yep, I'll be right. So when it boots, I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back, and as you can see, if you can see on the screen, we have this welcome screen, and if you cannot, I will just explain this to you. So we've got this screen, which is the macOS welcome screen, which is the first time when you this even appears if you have a physical Mac. The first time when you boot, this is the install, and so you'll get to know if you're visually impaired by your VM will speak saying macOS contains a built-in screen reader called VoiceOver. If you want to turn on VoiceOver to set up your Mac, press Command F5. Otherwise, press Escape to go through VoiceOver. So VoiceOver has a tutorial, and you can go through that. So we're gonna press Command F5 now. For people who have never used a Mac, this will be command will be to the left of your spacebar, and you press F5. Now note that F5, you don't need to press the function key. And also note, for certain people, so on Windows, it's usually your Alt key. So first, actually, in VMware, you need to press Control plus G to pass your keyboard and mouse into the virtual machine. So what happens is then your keyboard becomes a Mac keyboard in most cases, and that's what I'm getting to now. For some people, the left Alt key may not work as the command key. So normally what's going to happen in a VM is the left, the first key on the bottom row is going to be your FN, then you have Control Option Command space Control Option and the arrows. But for some people this is going to be changed, and this is for usually people with AMD, but I've seen this happen with Intel processors as well. In certain cases you may have the Control key first, just like your Windows, then FN, but then your Windows key will actually become the command key and your Alt key will become the option key. But after the spacebar to the right, it's the same. But yeah, so if your left Alt, if you try to press left Alt and F5 as command F5, if that doesn't work, you have to press the Windows key as your command key. So your Windows key will turn into the command key. But for me, my left Alt works, so I'm going to hit command F5 here to switch on VoiceOver, and we'll go through this setup really quickly. And VoiceOver should turn on.
VoiceOver, Setup Assistant, window, table, row 1 of 239, Afghanistan, selected as keyboard focus. You are currently on a table. To enter.
Here we are in this table, and we have to select our country. So I'm going to go into this table here, and I'm actually going to
Quick Nav on.
I'm going to switch on Quick Nav. This is a setting that you can use to use VoiceOver quicker, so you don't have to press the VO keys in all aspects. So I'm going to go into my table.
In table, row 1 of 239, Afghanistan, selected, Afghanistan. You are currently on a text element, in all and Algeria.
I'm going to scroll.
Brunei.
All the way.
Eritrea, Estonia, Gabon, Georgia, Guinea, Indonesia, India. Out of table.
Now, one quick side note, you notice that my audio is very clear here, but it may not be the case for all of you. So if your audio is not very clear, I recommend installing the virtual disk in the same location as you have installed your virtual machine. So if you, for example, mine is in my documents folder, so I also have my virtual disk in my documents folder, and that shortness of the communication will be helpful.
Back, dim button, continue
so let's
button.
Just to continue.
Keyboard layout table, row 1 of 1, image, AB application. Core location agent has no windows.
Pranav Mac OS virtual machine VMware.
Didn't want that to happen. Okay. Yeah, this is a bug that will sometimes pop up.
Voiceover off.
Okay, now it's switched to the Indian voice. Okay, that's
VoiceOver on setup assistant, window, keyboard layout.
Yeah, this is the Indian voice, and that will happen if you switch your country. So that's a kind of a bug. But you know what? I'm gonna switch my voice here.
Rate. Pitch.
Because
intonation. Voice automatic.
Alex compact.
Closing voice menu.
Keyboard layout.
Table.
Row 1 of 1.
Okay, this is a bug, guys. So you may not always get to
voice.
Alex compact. Automatically select based on
closing voice menu.
Keyboard layout.
Table.
Show all.
You won't get
Unticked checkbox.
this switch voices, and this is gonna sound kind of weird because 1 second, I have to report this probably
Voice.
to.
Automatic Alex Compact.
Daniel.
Fiona.
Fred.
Karen.
I'm just
Where? Samantha. Tessa.
Venacom. Victoria. Venacom.
There you go. I've just switched the voice because this is a bug with the current virtual disk.
Back button. Continue button.
So this is the keyboard layout, and you can just select it. It's selected by default for me, actually.
Back. Show all. Untick. Keyboard layout. Table. Row 1 of 1. Image. ABC. Selected. Show all. Back. But continue button.
Continue.
New keyboard layout. ABC. You are currently on a button. Continue. Back. Learn more button. You won't see this with every feed. Learn more.
Okay.
Back. Continue.
This is just a screen. Just skip it.
Back. But you can transfer information. Don't transfer any information now. Selected. Radio button. 3 of 3.
Yep.
Selected.
I don't want to transfer
You can
any
back. Continue.
information. So just hit space on that and hit continue.
Email. Apple ID. Email. Create new
Now
app.
you need to enter your Apple ID here. So it's better. Don't click on create new Apple ID. You can just create one if you don't have one. However, I'm going to go because I don't need that right now. I'm gonna go over to.
Forgot Apple ID. This Mac will be use different Apple ID. Back button. Continue. Continue. Back. Use different Apple IDs for iTunes and iCloud button. This Mac will be forgot Apple ID or path. Create new Apple ID. Email. Apple ID. iCloud. Setup later button.
I'm gonna go to setup later.
Don't in alert dialog. Skip default button. Setup later dimmed
So it's a
button.
very simple process. You can just go through your options.
Important. Use of your Mac.
Now this is the
Dimmed
license.
table. No license. Warranty. And back.
License
Agree
agreement.
button. Can in
Yes,
alert
I
dialog. Agree button.
Okay, now here
Full
you need to
name,
create
edit
your
text.
computer account.
Closing dialog.
Okay.
You
so
are currently
you
on
need
a
to enter your
text
full
field.
name. So I will just type
V V V L
Pranav Savla.
V A Savla.
I will go over.
Account name. You are current Pranav Savla.
I'll let that
Image.
be my
You are
account
currently
name.
on an image.
Okay.
This will be the name of your home folder. Password. You are currently
So
on
now
a text
you need
password.
to type in a
Secure edit
password.
text.
This won't let you continue without a password. So just type one in, and it has to at least be 6 characters. So I'll just type. Luckily, this doesn't say the password, so it'll just make that clicky noise.
Verify password. Secure edit text. Verify.
Yes.
You are currently on a
verify my password. Just type it again and move on.
hint. You are currently on a
I don't
text
want to
password
enter
hint.
any
Edit
hint.
text.
This
Optional.
is optional.
You are back button. Continue button.
Continue.
You are press continue dimmed button.
Now it's going to take some
Back,
time
creating
creating your
account.
computer account, setting up your Mac.
Busy progress in creating
Let
account.
it do
Back
what it has
dim.
to do. Okay, so it won't take a lot of time. And also do note that your network driver for this will be it will be
Creating
Ethernet.
account.
So whatever network your host is connected to, the same network will be used by the VM. So you won't have to switch network.
Express
Okay,
setup.
Express setup.
The features and settings below will be set up for you, or you can customize the settings yourself.
So this is like Siri.
You are currently on a learn more button. Mac feature list location image. You are current allow maps and other apps and services like find Mac feature list diagnostics image. Allow maps and other apps and services like Find My Mac and Spotlight suggestions together and use data to determine your location. You are currently on a text element. Mac help Apple improve its product. Customize settings.
Continue.
Back,
So
dip,
this
continue
won't allow
button.
you for Hey Siri, but you can just do continue.
Back dimmed but customize settings dimmed button. Window.
Okay,
Choose
so
your
you need to choose
light
your
dim
look.
selected. Dark toggle button.
And light or
You are
dark.
currently
I like the dark theme because it saves battery.
On a toggle button to select or light. You are dark. You are select a light or dark appearance and see how the dark. You can change this later by going to back button. Continue
And this
button.
is going to.
You are currently on a button. Setting up your Mac. Checklist
setting up
showing
your
steps to
Mac. So
complete.
now this
Setting
is
up your
setting
Mac.
up our VM, and this is basic things. So not
Setting up your Mac.
not
Checklist
a
show.
whole
Setting up your
bunch of
setting up your
things.
Mac.
And this is not going to take a lot of time. So this probably will restart your VM. And I guess it did that. Now to return keyboard focus to your host computer, you press the Control and Alt keys together.
Pranav Mac OS Virtual Machine
So
VMware
now,
Workstation 15
of
player.
course, one quick thing is that this video doesn't need, you don't need to know voiceover to do this. You can actually just do it sightedly. You can use a mouse and do it. But since I'm visually impaired, I need voiceover to do it. That's why you heard my Mac OS speak aloud. And of course, as I press Control Alt, you heard my Windows screen reader speak aloud. But you can, again, if you're sighted, you can even just take a mouse pointer away. So let's see what's going on. And to see what's going on again, if you're using NVIDIA, you can use the very handy OCR feature. So insert plus R.
Recognizing. Result document. Player. Mute. Star RT video.
Coming in the way. But it's restarting. So this should take some time. And let's just see.
Recognizing. Mute. Player. Mute. Start. New shift. Pause shift. Annotate. Find file. Go.
Okay, so we're done.
Pane.
And this has a few bugs where it switches off voiceover again. So just if you need, just switch it on again. Like I okay. So this sometimes does happen where voiceover will just get stuck. And there's still some cleaning up we have to do here. So just wait for it to load. Now, depending on how much storage you also give to your virtual machine, it will depend on that and how good quality your virtual machine is. So I tested this earlier with a 40 GB virtual machine, and it was fine. Not the best, but it was okay. But the best is if you give it around 60 or so GB of storage.
Recognizing. Result doc mute. Star part new pause annotate.
Finder. Desktop. Empty. Group.
Yes.
You
I
are
know I'm in a group. So here you go. Here is our voiceover, and we're back in our Finder.
Desktop. Empty. Group.
Yeah. So here we are now in our Mac. So we can go to our dock.
Finder. Dock. Finder. Open. 1 of 19. Siri not found. Siri not found. 2 of 19. Launchpad not found. 3 of 19.
And you could just go through your thing.
Finder. Desktop. Empty. Group. Okay. You are currently in a group. To exit this group.
I'm gonna try changing the voice again.
Rate. Pitch. Intonation. Volume 100%. Pitch 50%. Volume. Intonation. Voice automatic.
Alex Compact. Closing voice menu. Desktop. Empty group.
There you go. We switched.
You are currently in a group.
So now there's still one more thing we need to do. You notice that in our dock it says not found for many apps, and there are quite a few things. We need a
quick nav on.
Do some cleaning up here, okay? And this includes increasing the performance. This includes making the Mac OS more stable. And this is called installing VMWare tools, okay? And so to do that, that will just improve your performance, your display, your sound, everything like that. So to do that, let's just go out of our virtual machine and go into our context menu.
Context menu. File submenu, power submenu P, removable devices sub, send CTR, manage submenu M.
Install
VMware tools T. Pranav Mac OS Virtual Machine VMware Workstation 15 player, non-commercial use only.
Into our
Pane.
virtual machine here.
Desktop, empty group. Desktop,
you can still
empty
notice
group.
that lag in the time that I'm hitting my arrow. Okay, so it's doing something now. It's getting into the installer.
Finder busy.
And
Finder,
it's going to take
busy.
some time. So let's see.
Pranav Mac OS. Jane.
Busy. Busy.
Okay. So we're done.
VMware Tools
Now
volume.
there's this volume. It's very
VMware Tools volume.
very laggy
VMware
currently,
Tools
if you
volume.
notice the VM. So let's go into this volume here. Okay, I don't seem to be able to get access to it. But see, these are the little bugs that you're going to have that VMware Tools will cover up for you. And you can notice that the
Tools volume.
The voiceover is lagging. And there's...
Interact with the title of volume. You are currently in a volume. Stop interacting with the title of volume. VMware Tools volume. VMware Tools volume. Open now in VMware Tools window. Icon view collection. Icon view collection. You are currently on a install VMware Tools application. You are currently on an application. Uninstall VMware Tools application. Install VMware Tools application.
This will just be an installer. And again,
Finder busy.
You can notice the lag. Okay.
Uninstall VMware Tools.
And there's our installer.
Quick look window. Preview progress indicator. Preview progress indicator. Uninstall VMware Tools. Full screen button. You are currently on a button. Uninstall VMware Tools. You are currently on a text element.
Something that is
Finder.
Actually, see, this is the lag. Okay.
Share file button. Preview image. You are uninstall VMware Tools version 10.3.10. Uninstall VMware Tools version 10.3.10 431 kilobyte. Last modified on the 20th of February 2019 at 2:24:53 a.m.
So
you are currently on a text element. Now in empty out of icon view collection.
So this is
you are currently on a collection in uninstall VMware Tools application. Install VMware Tools application. Uninstall VMware Tools application. Install VMware Tools application. You are currently on an application.
And this may take you...
Quick look now in quick look window. Open install VMware Tools button. You are currently on a button. To click this button. Now in empty VMware Tools window. Install VMware Tools application 2 of 2. Uninstall VMware Tools application 2 of 2. To interact with items in this group. So install VMware Tools application 1 of 2.
Kind of
Now in quick look window. Install VMware Tools. You are currently on a text element.
Lag.
Share file button. You are current preview image. You are current preview image. Now in empty VMware uninstall VMware Tools application 2 of uninstall VMware Tools application 2 of uninstall VMware Tools application 2 install VMware Tools application 1 of
3 attempts at this, but when you get it done, it's just a basic installation. Okay, so I'll be back when it installs and when it restarts. So yeah, I'll be back. Okay, so we're back and VMware Tools is now installed on our macOS virtual machine. And so let me just tell you how I did this. So you may have remembered that on our desktop, we had this VMware Tools volume. And inside that, we had this install and uninstall VMware Tools. So you just, if you're visually impaired and you have voiceover, you just press Control Option or VO space twice on install VMware Tools. And if you're sighted, you can just double click on it. And then you'll be taken to this installer window. You have to keep clicking on continue and you get a continue installation option. Just click on that. Go with the default options. It will do its work for a while. And then what it will do is your Mac will pop up this dialog saying system extension blocked. And you just click on open security preferences. Then it'll say software from developer VMware Inc. blah 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 is trying to make changes to your computer. Just click on allow, and then there'll be this lock. Just click on that and type your password, and then you're done. And then if you go back to that installer window, you just click on restart. So your macOS VM will restart. And then, yeah, and then there is this slight bug, and let me mention it to you, is that you do get a dialogue even after that, the same security preferences dialogue, but VoiceOver doesn't always read that. So the way to do this is you go to system preferences on your own through your dock, and you go to security and you do the same thing. And then to close that dialog, you will have to take a sighted person's help and click on OK, because VoiceOver doesn't read things under the mouse, not by default. So that is a slight bug to be noted of. But now the good side is that we have installed VMware tools, and you can notice an immediate improvement. So one thing you can notice is in our dock, let me go to my dock real quick.
Dock. System preferences, 16 of 21. Finder, open, 1 of
And
21.
you can notice that the difference is that it was saying not found, and there were like these question marks, and those all have gone.
Siri, 2 of 21. Launchpad.
So now we have a proper dock at the bottom of our screen. And let me go back.
So Finder, desktop, Finder.
And you can notice that the VoiceOver lag has become so it's
desktop.
Decreased. So if I press my arrow keys, usually there was like a 2-second delay before VoiceOver would even speak.
Desktop, empty group. Desktop, empty
now you
group.
can see it's instantaneous.
Desktop, empty group. Desktop.
So it's much, VMware tools will improve the performance, and you can even see the screen. If you're sighted, you would probably see that the screen the screen is improved. Plus your mouse pointer has become a little more smooth on the screen. So it was kind of glitchy and laggy when VMware tools
desktop
was not installed, but now it's good. And so, yeah, and with this, macOS virtual machine is now installed on our system. So let me just give you a quick tour. Let me take you to, so you can see this is our desktop. If I go
menu bar,
Apple menu.
Apple menu, 10 items. About this Mac, system preference, apps or ellipsis, recent items, submit. Force quit sleep. Restart ellipsis. Shut down ellipsis. Lock screen command control. Log out Pranav Savla ellipsis. Closing menu.
Yeah, you've got your Apple menu there. I showed you the dock.
Dock. So App Store, 50. App Finder,
Store.
desktop. App Store, window, App Store, window.
And App Store.
Your continue button. You are currently discover collection. Sign in
we'll
button.
have to sign in with my Apple ID, and I'm not going to do that now. I'm just going to close it.
Finder.
So you can notice the close time is also increased. It's much more snappy.
Desktop, empty group.
Yeah, this is our macOS, and it's full-fledged. You can see in our dock, we've got FaceTime, iMessage, iTunes Store apps. So we've got everything in there. We've even got Spotlight search.
Spotlight.
Space, you can search.
Finder, desktop.
We've even got Siri. So if I show that to you.
Spotlight. Finder, desktop, empty group.
Work
you are currently in the group.
Time.
Spotlight, system dialog, Spotlight search text field, blank. Spotlight search.
So
you are currently on a text field. Finder,
Siri and, system preferences, but we have Siri on this Mac, and you can access it. So it
Spotlight.
Is. So it's
Spotlight.
Not work
System dialog. Spotlight. Fine.
But yeah, that is our macOS virtual machine. And just a few side notes. Now, I have used VoiceOver here. As I said, you can just use your mouse. And just a few things that this macOS, I need to mention that this is only used for educational purposes and is not, we won't be held responsible for any illegal activities. So yeah, macOS, anyway, macOS virtual machine. A virtual machine, since this shares the hardware with your computer, this is best used for only testing purposes because you won't be able to do very heavy tasks in this. I tried installing iMovie onto the virtual machine. My graphics card supported it, but yours may not. So if you have a good graphics card, it will be good. If you have a very good laptop, then you should be able to get just well. But it's it will give you the experience of using a Mac to an extent. So you'll be able to use the complete software without any restrictions. So that's, yeah, I mean, it's except for probably a few glitches here and there. In a normal UI, I haven't noticed anything that's been wrong. So this is a full-fledged Mac OS software that you've got, running here in a virtual machine, and this is completely safe. So if you've done anything wrong in this, it's not going to affect your host virtual machine, your host Windows machine. So yeah, you can, nothing's gonna happen. No files are shared between your host and the virtual machine, except you can of course copy and paste files from your host to the virtual machine and vice versa. So if you want to transfer files that way, it's very useful. So yeah, that was using a Mac OS, or how to get a Mac OS virtual machine up on Windows. But do note that most of these steps can be followed for Linux as well using VMware Player. So you can try this out on Linux too. And yeah, so that we've got our virtual machine up. And if you want to learn, if you're sighted or visually impaired, and you've got your VM up and you want to learn how to use VoiceOver to get through your Mac, I have a series of tutorials on that as well. So you can check that out. And if you have any questions on this VM topic or anything, please, I'd appreciate if you write in the comment box. That way I'd be able to get to your answer very quickly. And if you also have any feedback and anything that I lacked, please write it down in the comment box so I can improve upon it, clarify, and anything like that. So I can get to your question or suggestion as fast as possible. So with this, we come to the end of installing macOS as a virtual machine. And I'd like to end by thanking Vision8 for letting me, giving me the opportunity to bring out this idea as well into a real-time project. So I'd like to thank Vision8 on that. And yeah, I really hope you picked something up from this video. And so yeah, with that in mind, I will say goodbye and thank you.